Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Mann. I'm with Gateway Pre-ETS, and I'm going to be demonstrating for you a lesson that I will be doing with a class this week, and it is on acceptable versus unacceptable behavior in the workplace. And I will be using Google Jamboard. It's very much like Google Slides or PowerPoint, a little bit easier to use, easier for students to use. And like those applications, I can share that, I can push out the Jamboard directly to the students using their email addresses, or I can share the link in the Google Meets chat box during the session. And so, but I do like the Google Jamboard in that it is a lot more simple to use. There's less buttons to push, things like that. So it's pretty straightforward. The idea is that I can add new slides or new Jamboards as we go along as needed in the class, and then just sort of add text, add pictures, sticky notes, and things like that. So up to this point, I have been working with this class on career exploration. Many of them have some ideas of jobs that they are interested in or that they're good at. And so I've tried to incorporate some of those into the actual Jamboard. I have one particular student who's very interested in working at Speedway, so I wanted to try to personalize the lesson as much as possible. Moving into the actual body of the presentation, you can see that some of these slides are very much just informational, so they function like the Google Slides. I can use things like the pointer to sort of draw attention to certain words and things like that. Here we're going to be talking about vocabulary development for acceptable, using examples and non-examples and things that are familiar to them, such as what is an example of acceptable behavior at their house. What are some examples of unacceptable behaviors at their house or at school? We could do the same thing with unacceptable. And so, of course, that would be the opposite of acceptable. So we'll work on that and then kind of move into the workplace. And so this is an example of a sign that they would likely see in their workplace: no personal cell phone use allowed while working. We can talk about why that might be, why did they have to create that rule? What are some exceptions or to that rule that might exist? And then we'll be looking at the pictures here. We can even go in and add pictures, if during the discussion, if we would like. And so same thing for appropriate behavior of arriving to work on time. What would be an acceptable? Does this picture demonstrate acceptable or not unacceptable? What would happen if you were in that situation? And we can have that conversation. Here, we would be getting into a little bit more of the inner actions that would be capable of using Google Jamboard, and that we can do some drag and drop. So again, we could just do this as a large group discussion, or I could give one student control, and then they could be sort of the teacher or the leader, and we would just go through the pictures and drag and drop them where they belong based on our understanding of acceptable and unacceptable hygiene and clean clothes rule for work. Here, the idea is to get students to get more involved, to use the image feature. And here I'm asking them to find examples of acceptable behavior at work. And so they can just type in, things like helping, smiling, on time to work. So whatever they think is important. And the idea is that we would have this classroom sort of collage of all acceptable behavior for workplace. Same thing, we could do the unacceptable. So we could have a lot of fun with that. And then this is another example of interaction that can be used, and that is using the sticky notes. So here I gave them a scenario: create a note explaining what you can do if you run into a problem at work. And so give some examples of what some problems might be. And then so here, they may say, ask for help, read signs, and they can change the color of the Post-it that they want to put up, and then they can save it, and then it would just then add. And so the idea is that we would sort of have like an exit at the end of the lesson, and students will add their Post-it notes to this. Thank you for watching.